there has been a decision that I have been prolonging for about as long as I could here in this series, and that is what to do with a team that seems destined to break up after this year. Do we keep the squad together for one more run in hopes of bringing home a second straight title, or do we try to recoup some assets so we don't lose valuable players for absolutely nothing in the offseason? And I have finally come to my decision that today we will be attempting to trade Andre Stevens in an effort to recoup some value for his services. Now, not an easy decision for me. Andre Stevens has had some excellent moments here in this series and has really been vital for us. But when I look at his skill set, I do think it is fairly replaceable in terms of his, non-physicals or IQ. You see a lot of Bs here, which I feel like are replaceable. And even one of his As, mid-range scoring, we don't see that actually come into play a lot. He just doesn't get a lot of shot attempts because the guys above him on the overall list here take a grand majority of our shots. The other A, though, is something that I think we will dearly, dearly miss from Andre Stevens. I think rebounding is something that he really helped us out with. Often led our team in rebounding, depending on if Mullins spent more time on the perimeter in that matchup. Particularly in the final series, I think Andre Stevens was a big help on the glass. We're gonna miss that skill set most of all, I think, as well as just being a 6'11", 254-pound man who's a great athlete. I think, nobody else is really above 250 pounds on this team. No one's really above 240 except for Lawal here, all the way down at 73 overall. So that kind of size, we're gonna miss it. Ultimately, I decided to make this choice because I think Andre Stevens is important for a finals run this year. I don't think he is 100% necessary for that run. I think we have more options at forward behind him. Ernest Augustine plays forward, Lamont Powers. I think Bowman listed, of course, as a shooting guard. I think he very comfortably can play, honestly, either forward spot. So, again, only Augustine offers even close to the rebounding that he does. I just feel when it came down to Davidson versus Stevens, I felt like we have more options at forward currently on the roster than we do at guard, particularly backup point guard. If we were to get rid of Davidson, I just don't trust anybody we have on the team to play point guard. Behind Malachi Pope, it would probably be, we're talking Moses Moody would be our backup point guard at that point, which just I don't think is where this team wanted to be. And there's even a chance we lose Davidson as well in the offseason. He's asking for a ton of money that I just don't know if we will be able to afford. But with all that being said, the decision is made. Ernest Augustine, we're going to try to find a home for him. Looked around the league, and there's one trade I want to attempt here. I was looking for a team in the West that has good players, maybe a little bit underperforming, missing one player, but could give us a first-round pick that's at least going to be top 20, most likely. And I think I found it here with the Oklahoma City Thunder. They have John Morant, Chet Holmgren, Herb Jones, Warren Riley here. But their best power forward is Larry Jordan, and I think they could certainly do better than that with Andre Stevens. The deal here to match salaries would be Colin Sexton, and I'm also asking for their first this year. We're far enough into the future that they no longer have all their extra firsts. This year is the last year they have somebody else's first, so they wouldn't even be missing out on a first-round pick this year. They'll still have the Spurs. And the stars don't match up. It's saying that the Thunder are giving away more stars here, so I don't know if they'll accept it. I tried to go higher in the first round, and those picks are worth more than Andre Stevens by themselves. And, of course, we have to match salary. Of course, Sexton isn't even close to somebody that's gonna do much for us. He's age 30. He has a couple of badges, so I suppose he could be a decent mentor to somebody. But It's really just pretty much who's a team that would actually be interested in Andre Stevens and has a high enough draft pick to make it make sense. OKC's is honestly, so far of what I've seen, I've attempted quite a few teams here. The only one where it's remotely close, we're talking about a 1-star difference, maybe a second round pick could push this team over the edge. So let's try it. Again, I forgot to take off forcing trades from last trade deadline, so it's still on there, but we're of course not going to force a team to make a trade with us. They do have a counter offer for us though. So, okay, this is interesting. They don't want it just for the first, but if we give them a 2032 unprotected first, they'll give us an unprotected next year too, which isn't actually legal, I think, right? I'll do this. Yeah, I'll do this. I don't know why they would do this, giving us a top 10. Basically, they're saying we'll give you next year's top 10 protected for a 2032 unprotected. And it's like, I guess that kind of makes sense. I don't know. But they'll do it for this. I will too. And the Oklahoma City Thunder and the Nashville Sound have agreed on a trade that will send Andre Stevens away. Honestly, I don't love the value for Stevens there. I think Stevens is the most valuable asset that was traded in that trade. But again, we were gonna lose him. We didn't have a lot of leverage there. A lot of the trades that I did like a lot more, they just weren't gonna happen. Like, for example, I thought a team like Philly, who has talent, but just has been underperforming this year, I thought maybe they could give up their first for Andre Stevens. But if we go to trading, that pick alone is worth 3.5 stars. That's Andre Stevens we just saw was worth 3 stars. So we're never gonna get a pick like that, especially because you have to match salaries and such. And there just aren't a ton of guys that are worth 1 star that are making double-digit millions in the league at this point. I mean, we've seen in free agency there's guys 80 plus overall that are remaining unsigned, so there's not a lot of bad contracts. So it was just tough. I think in a vacuum we should have gotten more value for Stevens, but I think that was the best offer that was actually available to us. It is very tough to see Andre Stevens go. That makes us just with kind of the big, 4 guys here in the 85 plus range. And then after that, we have the drop off rather than having the 5 guys in that range. So I'll have to redo some lineups now, and I'll talk to you when I get that done. And here is the lineup we are going to start with in the post Andre Stevens era. We're of course going to have the big 3 starting. Decided to have Powers and Augustine be the other starters for now. That is mostly because I just feel like Augustine has been on the team for a while and deserves a chance at starting, especially with his contract up. Deserves a chance to show what he's got prior to his unrestricted free agency. He's also, as I kind of previewed before, by far the best rebounder of the forward options we have available. I think that's very key, especially down the stretch of these games. We saw in the Cavaliers series, the offensive rebounding can absolutely tank a fourth quarter. So having that extra rebounding in the starting lineup will be what we go with to start. And then we've got Davidson playing both of the guard roles off the bench, Bowman and Moody playing the forward spots, and AC Stevens, of course, that backup center spot. So that is what we're going to go with here in our first post Andre Stevens lineup. We might change it around. I could see Bowman maybe getting the start at small forward with Powers at power forward. That was suggested in the comments. I don't mind that lineup at all. I just feel like I'm going to give Augustine the first crack at it over the rookie here. And we're going to also see Bowman play some power forward, see how he can deal with it. I don't think it's his best spot. I think probably the 3 is his best spot. But we were going to have to play somebody out of their ideal role when we made this trade. That was just the reality of it. And it looks like that will be Bowman here. in this case. So we'll see how this lineup does. Taking a look here at the All-Star selections, that injury I think really took Sidney Lowry out of the All-Star game this year. No surprise there, but we do see first-time All-Star Malachi Pope. You absolutely love to see it. Very well earned in my opinion. This guy really, since the Eastern Conference Finals, has stepped up his game in a major way and has translated into his third year as well. Here we've got ourselves our first opportunity to hop into a game here in February, all the way at February 24th. Just not been a lot of close games this month, but here's a look. Francis Mullen's been leading the way here. We've got to erase a 6-point deficit with 4:17 left in this matchup. Let's see if we can do it. Powers with it, top of the key. Looking to set something up. He's going to try to drive instead. Kick out to Pope to Lowry. Good look from the mid-range. Falls for us. The first basket we need here in the late game. And off to Booker. Defended by Malachi Pope. Now it's a screen and roll situation. Lowry on the defense. Great job staying in front. That was an insanely tough shot there by Alexander. Both Lowry and Augustine played really good defense there. Sid the Kid. Dishes to Powers. Trying to set something up for Malachi Pope, but the Suns doing a nice job defensively here on this possession. Need to come up with something, and as the shot clock expires, Malachi pours it in. But we need stops here in these final moments. I really like the defense we played on the first possession, just couldn't get the stop either way. This time, though, the pick and roll gets the switch, and the Suns take advantage of the mismatch in the pick and roll. Isolation here for Lowry going against Alexander. Doesn't like what he has, though, despite the fact that he was in the low post. Going to get a corner three from Ernest Augustine. That one splashes home, and it's a one-basket ball game. 2.5 here remaining. Going to force a Phoenix timeout. But so far, haven't been able to get the stops we need. Let's hope to get one here. Haven't even seen Booker yet, which is, if we can't get stops when they're not even going to Booker, it's going to be tough. Although Booker did get the assist on that second basket, to be fair. Now he's isolating against Lowry. Good defense there. A chance to tie or to take it to one. It looks like Lowry's going to try to bring it to one with the Euro step dunk in transition right over Obi Toppin. Flushes it home with two hands. You'll love to see it. It's a 1-point ball game. 2 minutes remain. Pick and roll. Call it pick and pop with Obi Toppin. That three falls. Back to a 2-possession game here. Lowry goes to the rim but decides to pull up instead. Mullins on the offensive board cleans it up for us. Down to 90 seconds. Booker awaits a screen. He gets it. And nice defense there by Malachi Pope to strip him of the ball. But unfortunately, Robert Williams gets it right back. Pick and roll again. A missed dunk. Ernest Augustine. What a play defensively. Now, Sidney Lowry going to get fouled there. That's a good foul by Booker. There's going to be a wide open lane to the basket without the foul. Tie or take the lead here with a made basket here. Pope gonna tie this one up. Kind of a goofy looking shot. But we know how clutch Malachi is in these moments. Booker with it now, defended by Lowry. Going inside, drawing the foul, and making the layup. You knew Booker was going to show up at some point here in this late game scenario, and he does in a big way. Completes the three-point play there with the free throw. Now the Sound will take a timeout here. Still have 3 remaining. Going to try to draw up a play, give their guys a little bit of rest as well, so we can come up with the best. Oh my gosh, 2K! It's not that hard. Why are you taking double? I swear, if we take a 3rd straight timeout coming out of this, I'm going to be so upset. All right, looks like we're not taking a 3rd straight timeout. Lowry goes inside, pumps. He had the open shot earlier, decided not to take it. Instead, he's going to get the foul and the and one. Never should have doubted his methods there. He gets a chance to tie it here from the line. Lowry being ultra aggressive here in the final couple of minutes. You'll love to see it. But he missed the free throw. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. Missed the tying free throw. Booker hits the jumper as well. My goodness, man. You can't miss that free throw. Lowry would love to come up with a 3 here. Instead, they're just going to let him get all the way to the basket, and you'll take that, I guess, force some free throws. But if it's Booker shooting them, they're just practically automatic makes. They're trying to get it to Booker here. Instead, they'll get it to whoever number 10 is, Gregory. I have no idea what his free throw rating is. Hopefully it's in the 60s and he splits them here. Better yet, hopefully he goes 0 for 2. First one is in. Second free throw for Gregory is no good. Let's go. We trail by just 2. Let's go for the 3 here, please. I don't need overtime. I need a win. Looks like Lowry's gonna step back, and he's gonna miss the 3. That should end this game. I guess there's technically a chance he misses a free throw when we make a full court, so we'll just watch these free throws. But Lowry, unfortunately, a couple of untimely misses down the stretch in this game. Malachi, didn't matter because Dort made both of his free throws anyway, but that will end this one. We fall in our first critical situation here of the episode. Very next game, we've got another close one here. We're up by 5, 4:15 remaining. Let's close this game out. Pope's got the ball, top of the key. And we're going to get an illegal screen to start the scenario here. Not a great way to begin. Magic team, there's certainly some differences here from their base roster, but as you can see, they do have Miles Turner. So the Pacers did make a trade. I was going to show it to you at the end of our February update, but as you can see, the Pacers did make a pretty decent trade here in this season, as Powers nails that long ball. And I'll show it to you again at the end of February. But this team's still built around Paolo Banchero. I think Miles Turner is actually a pretty good front court partner for him, so I don't mind that trade from the Heat's perspective. Suggs to the line, hits free throw number 1. Free throw number 2 is no good, however. Powers taking the ball up the court. Matched up against Suggs. Now we give to Malachi. Thought about taking it instead. Dishes it off to Lamond, who's hit 2 big threes so far here today. I'm really happy that we ended up getting Lamond back in the starting lineup. I think that's where he belongs. I feel like he's an excellent complement to the guys here in the starting lineup. Just does his job. Very unselfish player, very athletic and a positive defensively. And then the layup here by Sidney Lowry. I don't even know if we need to finish this one out. We'll maybe watch one more possession here, see if Orlando can do something with it. Paolo being very aggressive, but a good stop there by Ernest Augustine. So far, very small sample size of what we've seen, but I've liked what I've seen from Ernest Augustine here in the starting lineup as well. Mullins, he's going to draw the foul on Miles Turner. Since we're going to score here in this possession, I think we're just going to count this one as a win. We took care of business here late against Orlando. Sidney Lowry led us here today. We had 3 guys hitting 20 points, but neither of the other 2 to do it were the guys you'd suspect. It would be Christian Davidson, which I guess you would suspect. But Bowman here, 8 of 10, 5 of 5 from deep. Dropping 22 points in 20 minutes off the bench. You love to see that. Well, when I stopped at 5 minutes, this game was not close at all, but the Pistons have gone on a bit of a run here in the last few minutes. So with 2 minutes remaining, we're going to hop in against the Detroit Pistons. We got just a 2-point lead. Pope's got it. Defended by Cade Cunningham. Now, the Pistons, if you remember, they're the only team that has ever defeated the Nashville Sound in a playoff series. So there's that aspect of this matchup here as Pope comes through for us again. Up to 23 points on the night for Malachi. Fancy pass by Cade Cunningham, and Powers wanted nothing to do with it. Gonna almost pick up the assist in transition as well as a beautiful pass. Malachi just could not get that ball to go in. Spinning, Giannis. Oh, man. He's going to draw himself to the line. Getting flashbacks of that playoff series 2 seasons ago. I still think this team would be a tough matchup for us. Cade and Giannis are just 2 of the guys that are, I believe, tougher to defend in 2K. Now, I liked the strategy we had against Giannis when we played them last, but I also think we're more equipped to defend Cade than we were previously. And the team behind them isn't quite as good as it was 2 years ago, but, you know, still could be a fun matchup. Malachi just 1 for 3 here after missing his last 2 shots. Inside, nearly got tipped away. Instead, it's going to be in for a miss. Big rebound by Mullins. Malachi gonna not get called for a charge. I thought for sure that might be a charge. Instead, Giannis gets called for the block, and it's going to be free throws from Malachi Pope. That was the 5th foul on Detroit here in the 4th. Malachi goes 2 for 2. Back up to a 4-point lead. Under a minute left. Here we go. Inside to Giannis. Nice pass there from Cade Cunningham. Ernest Augustine's definitely a bit smaller than Andre Stevens, and so it's more of a favorable matchup for Detroit here at that 4 spot. Augustine off the mark for 3. Now Detroit could tie this one up. Pick and roll for Giannis. He's got an open 3, but it's off. I think Giannis attempting the 3 is something you'll take in that spot, especially coming off the dribble and not being able to square up all the way. Big free throws here for Pope. First one drops. He is a very good free throw shooter. And he goes 2 for 2 in this very important scenario. Been a lot of Malachi Pope here in these final 2 minutes. I do not mind at all. Also wouldn't mind seeing Sidney Lowry get a little bit more involved. He does have a good defender in Derek White opposite him, though, to be fair. 20 seconds remain. Cade going baseline on Pope. Double pumps and finds the space he needs to finish. 15 seconds. Detroit needs to foul, and they will on Sidney Lowry, so we'll see him for the first time. First free throw is good. Second is as well, so a lot of clutch free throw shooting here. Maybe not the most exciting, but it's good to see, especially after Sid's miss the previous time. The honest makes that. You've got to be kidding me. This game is not over yet. I was sitting here talking like the game was over. Giannis makes that 3 after the pump fake. Gonna have to foul Sidney Lowry again. If he goes 2 for 2, you pretty much at least guarantee overtime. Here he is making the first. Second also falls. There we go. So we're what, 8 for 8 from the free throw line here. Now we just need a D-up for a final 3-point attempt. It's going to be Taurean Prince, and he made it. Are you kidding me? Oh my gosh. We're likely headed to overtime. I mean, I'm not kidding. When I stopped at 5 minutes left, we had a double-digit lead. Not good down the stretch here. We've got 1.8 seconds to come up with a shot. This ball. It's going to Malachi. He's going to have to take a deep 3, and it is off. We're headed to an extra period here in Nashville. These two teams have a little bit of history together. And tonight they add to it just a bit with this overtime game. Let's simcast until maybe 2 minutes left here in overtime. Here we go. We're up by 5. This time with 1.5 remaining. See if we can close it out. And by 1.5, I mean a minute and 50 seconds, of course. Even though that's not technically what 1.5 means in terms of time. Derek White with it. Going baseline. AC Stevens with the block. It looks like we've had some foul out situations. Bowman is in. Davidson is in. Stevens is in. Have all those guys fouled out, or did we just make the substitutions for funsies? I have no idea, because 3 foul outs would be pretty nuts. Especially considering we have 0 fouls here in the overtime. So I think it was just a coach's decision to put those guys in. Nice defense there from Christian Davidson. It is a regular season game, so I don't mind not overplaying a lot of these guys. Augustine dishes to Pope. Tries to go off glass, but Derek White with the strong defense. Neither team been able to score here yet in the final couple minutes. White drills the 3 off the Giannis assist. It's a 2-point game. We really need a basket here. So far, I haven't loved the shots we've been able to get. Here's a very good one from Christian Davidson, and it's right down the barrel. Big time shots from our stud 2-guard in his contract season. Whether or not we will be able to retain him is the big question that is coming to us this offseason. Derek White driving inside, now dribbles it out. He's taking the 3, no good, and it's rebounded by Francis Mullins. We'll start a little bit of free throw roulette. Or is it not free throws yet? No, it looks like we need one more foul before free throws. But I'm pretty confident that we're going to wrap this one up. And we will. A big-time victory for Nashville, 27-10 to lead the way by Malachi, 23 for Lowry, 22 for Davidson, and 21 for Mullins. 4 guys hitting 20-plus points is something I love to see. It is now time for our February end-of-the-month update here. And I will say February was pretty dang successful with Ernest Augustine in the starting lineup. We lost just 3 times in the entire month. We are now 42-19. Got a really nice grip on that number 1 seed here in the Eastern Conference. Now, like I stated previously, I do want to just go over all the trades that went down here in this season. Trae Young traded by the Rockets for Lonzo Ball. Interesting there. Not sure how I feel about that trade, but Miles Turner, like I hinted at with that Magic game, got traded for Devin Vassell, which I think is a good trade for the Pacers. They kind of had 3 centers that you like, and they were able to turn one into a wing, which I felt like they needed a little bit more. DeAndre Ayton went in exchange for Tyrese Maxey. Very interesting. It looks like the 76ers are trying to secure their center future beyond Joel Embiid, who is certainly regressing at this point. This is the Sound trade that we talked about for Colin Sexton. Herb Jones got traded to the Thunder, so the Thunder made a couple of deals here, trying to shake up their roster as they were borderline play-in team. At the time we traded them Andre Stevens. Robert Roy for Clint Capella, Primo for Terry, Kobe White for Johnny Davis. Not a lot of big trades here earlier on, except for Kawhi Leonard for Robert Williams. That one would certainly classify as a couple of, very notable names here. Bradley Beal for Irvin Roberts. Beal, I'm sure, is not great at this point in the series, though. So the bigger trades I feel like are closer here up top. The Andre Stevens one, DeAndre Ayton, Miles Turner, Trae Young. Those are the bigger deals, I would say, here in this season's trade deadline. No megastars getting traded. There were a couple that I considered moving, but just the contending teams I didn't feel like had good enough offers to land those players, so I didn't make those deals. So here we are at the end of February. Just kind of want to see what we're seeing from Ernest Augustine now that he's a starter. Just get a check-in on his statistical output, just kind of his recent games here. Seeing, 10, 9, and 10 rebounds here, which you like to see. Not scoring in double figures a lot, although that's not really his role. We know that. In his first start, he did drop double digits. That was the only time he dropped it in the entire month, though. Shooting-wise, a lot of these games are under 50% for sure, but they're not, really hurting us that bad, except for maybe this 1 for 10 would be the one that you're like, don't love that. 2 for 10 is not great either, but we're winning with him in the starting lineup. Whether or not he's having these great statistical games, I'm less worried about. I'm worried about, is he getting rebounds? Which he is. I like a lot of these rebounds here, especially these last 3 games. And we're winning, which is what really matters to me. So we could give Bowman a chance maybe at some point. He has been really good. As of late, we've seen him drop double digits with consistency. But again, I don't know how much scoring at the spot is really needed for what we're trying to accomplish. But he's certainly a good scorer. And whether it's going to be starting or coming off the bench, I'm excited to see him a lot more come the playoffs and see what he can do. Because we drafted him and we haven't seen much of him yet. That's kind of the downside of the way we're doing these regular seasons. We now find ourselves at the end of March here and did not do any critical situations here for the month of March, just because I wanted to spend some time instead to just go over with you guys what I'm seeing from this draft class, maybe position by position, kind of talk about maybe one or two guys that I like. Starting here at point guard, we like size at the position. So there's Fred Oliver here. He's 6'5", 220 pounds. He has 4 badges. He's got good playmaking and inside scoring, but that's pretty much it with him. He's got above average IQ. He's a pretty good athlete as well, out of Kentucky. Has all-star ceiling. His badges are right here. Could be a good guy to set the teammates up here in terms of his passing, and just doesn't really have the scoring upside, I think, to be a Christian Davidson replacement. The other guy here is Russell Barnett, who's 6'4", 190 pounds. Much better of a shooter for sure. Still a terrible defender, but also has that playmaking. I like Barnett the most here of this point guard class, I would say, just because he actually offers the size. Drew Weaver would be the other guy that I would like to just finish the profile on, because he looks to have a little bit more well-rounded skill set. Doesn't quite have the playmaking you like. He's got good size, so I'm hoping to finish that profile here with Weaver. Looks like he's not going to have a great starting point, though. He's only going to have C- overall, so going to be more of maybe a long-term project. But I like what I'm seeing from his grades here a little bit more than I am from anybody else, except for maybe Barnett. He's got a couple of playmaking badges, so that's the point guard spot. Not a very strong point guard class. We got spoiled for a couple years straight having just really good point guard classes, and it looks like that's coming back down here. Shooting guard wise, there's really only one guy that I love here, and it is Jonathan Atkins. I talked about him in the last episode a little bit when I was talking about potential replacements depending on who we decided to trade, and I think Jonathan Atkins has a lot of potential to be a Christian Davidson replacement. The only thing he really lacks, honestly, in my book, is playmaking. He can shoot a bit. He's an excellent defender. Needs to get a little bit better playmaking, but his IQ's in an excellent spot. His physicals as well. 6 badges is really nice for him. All-star upside. And the one downside of going through these seasons quicker and not being able to get college clips of any of these guys is I don't get much in the way of hints at their tendencies. I mean, there are the scouted guesses here. They tend to be at least semi-accurate, but going through that list takes a ton of time and it's not very fun. So it's just better to get a glimpse of some of these guys' tendencies via watching them play the college games. If we don't get any more, I also don't get to see like what their jump shot looks like. Some people just have absolutely terrible jump shots, and Atkins might be one of them, but that's just a risk we're gonna have to take from here on out in the franchise. Another guy, there's a couple guys that have upside and that can really shoot the ball here down later. Don't know if that's exactly what I'm looking for at this point, though. Gregor Burke is also pretty solid with his defense, IQ, and physicals. Is at least an okay shooter, but I think Atkins is kind of stands alone for me as my favorite shooting guard in this class. Small forward, not a good class, I'll say. I haven't been impressed by what I've seen overall. Lonnie Bonner is probably my favorite guy here. He can shoot, play some interior defense, is at least solid on the perimeter as well. Decent enough athlete with at least average IQ, but just not inspired at all, we'll say that. Hickman's another guy who kind of looks more like a power forward than a small forward, even though his secondary, I guess, is technically listed as shooting guard. But I would never play that guy as shooting guard. Gene Sylvester's another guy we talked about last episode. I do think he's the best power forward in this class. Just kind of a jack of all trades skill set here. Not a great perimeter defender, and at 215 pounds, you wish he would be. At least kind of maybe in that C range there. But he has everything else you're looking for. Good athlete, good IQ, can rebound, play makes well for a 4, can kind of shoot a little bit on the inside, shoot threes a little bit, play some interior defense. little bit older, only has that one badge, green machine, which isn't the best for the CPU versus CPU. He has that all NBA upside too, so he has a good ceiling, better than a lot of the guys we're looking at here. But that's kind of my best power forward. After that, it falls off quite a bit. I mean, Art Watkins is solid, but not great. Trent Mason, solid, not great again. There was a comment saying that just good power forwards are hard to generate in these 2K classes at times, and that's certainly the case. I mean, Gene Sylvester's solid, but like nobody plays any perimeter defense, and you know that power forwards play perimeter defense in real life, but 2K just hasn't quite caught up to the memo. Even like small forwards, you'll get a couple guys maybe at B, but I mean, you can't find any defensive forwards, hardly ever, it seems like, in this game. It's really unfortunate. But now center. The center does have the best player in this class by a wide margin. Marvin Starks here, 82 overall, 6 badges, has Hall of Fame ceiling. He's definitely the best player in this class. It's not particularly close. Skill set wise, doesn't offer much as a perimeter player, definitely more of your traditional center. Another build that I think 2K needs to work on, just like we at least get a couple of guys with C perimeter defense. I mean, my goodness. Alvin Holloway is, I think, in terms of options for us, my favorite center, because we would actually draft him to play power forward. He can shoot threes a bit, is excellent interior defense. The perimeter defense is just as good as all the power forwards that we see, you know, and rebounds really well, good IQ as well. So we're talking about guys that I am interested in taking. Alvin Holloway is one, Gene Sylvester is another, and Jonathan Atkins, I think, are my 3 favorite guys. Again, these are the guys that I talked about briefly last episode. Those are the guys for me, but just wanted to give you an idea of the class overall. I mean, just not a very strong one this year. I would liken it pretty close to our year 2 draft, where we ended up taking guys like Christian Davidson and Andre Stevens. Like, you're either getting guys who aren't very good right now with the upside, which isn't what I really want at this point in the franchise series, or you're getting guys that can contribute now but don't really offer much in terms of upside. There's not a lot that offer both. There's Marvin Starks, Sylvester a little bit if he hits his boom potential, but his regular potential is not great. So, you know, we weren't able to get a great pick in return for Andre Stevens, but it turns out this isn't the best draft to have a high pick in, so maybe not gonna hurt us all that much. Talk about where the guys that I really like, where they are ranked. You have Atkins, who's somebody who's gonna go probably in the teens if you look at his draft projection. Oh, so they have him at 10, 10, 11. So he's kind of borderline top 10 pick projected. You have Sylvester. He is projected to go 7, 18, and 25. So nobody really knows where this guy's going to go. And then center-wise, one guy projects him to go top 5. That's far different from these other 2 projections where he's going to go early 20s. So I think all these guys are gettable. Obviously, we can't get all 3, but I think there's a good chance we end up coming away out of the draft with one of those 3. You know, and going through these profiles, if there's a profile that you guys looked at and said, hey, you should like that more, go ahead and let me know. Or if you have an opinion on which of the 3 between Holloway, Sylvester, and Atkins we should be trying to acquire in the draft, let me know that as well in the comments section. But with that being said, it's now time to finish off the regular season. So now here we are at the end of April, and decided just to not do any more critical situations for the rest of the year, just because we've had so much going on outside of it, whether that be the big trade or the draft preview or the stats and awards, which we will be getting through right now. So we would lose our last game, meaning we go 57-25 on the year. Darren Anthony is your MVP once more. 23 points, 12 rebounds, 6 assists, and 3 stocks. I mean, He truly is dominant. Rookie of the year is Edmund Sampson, who dropped 18, 4, and 5 in his first season in the league. We got to see him a little bit last episode when we had a close game against the Wizards, and I think he's going to be a problem at some point in this series. Jose Hernandez is your 6th man of the year for LA. Averaged 15, 5, and 7 off the bench, which is really nice, over a steal as well. Yeah, that I would take that bench production any day. Victor Wembanyama, 26, 13, and 4. Although it's defensive player of the year, so they're really worried about that 1.1 steals and 2.6 blocks and 12.7 rebounds, which is just insane. Most improved also goes to Jose Hernandez. Yeah, he was awesome. Clutch player is Darius Garland. So a lot of our guys that we've seen drafted and guys that we went up against last season in the playoffs, winning a lot of awards. Quinn Snyder is your coach of the year for the 57 and 25 Nashville Sound. Executive of the year goes to Bucks, Michael Mayer. So let's now get to all NBA teams. Darren Anthony and Victor Wembanyama, Darius Garland. We've seen all these stat lines. Let's go to now Nikola Jokic, who averaged 24, 11, and 7. Shot 55% from the field. Luka Doncic, 24, 8, and 9. Not quite the dominant guy we saw earlier. He's had to share the ball a little bit more. Dallas has actually gotten him some help, so he's not winning the MVP every single season anymore. Giannis, 23, 10.5, 5.5 there. We got SGA, 25, 5, and 8. 26, 6, and 7 for Scoot, and then 24, 5, and 9 for LaMelo Ball. And Asar Thompson, 21, 8, and 6. Third team, we've got Ja Morant, 26, 6, and 8. We've got Brandon Miller, 25, 6, and 5. We've got our own Malachi Pope, who averaged 20 points, 4.4 rebounds, 9.5 assists, 1.2 steals on really good efficiency. And then we've got Cade with 25, 6, and 6. Jason Tatum, 22, 6, and 4. And those are your All-NBA teams. No All-NBA for our guy, Sidney Lowry. Offensive goes to the Thompson twins at guard. You love to see it. Jaren Jackson, Giannis Wembanyama, Holmgren, Guillermo Rodriguez, surprisingly enough. What are his defensive ratings? Don't remember him being that good of a defender coming out of the draft. But yeah, he's got A post defense, so that's fair with C+ perimeter. SGA, Ball, Mobley, and Holmgren. Rookie teams here. Do we get our guy on it? We do not. No Bowman there on the all-rookie team. Let's simulate through the play-in to see who we will be facing next episode. And we have Francis Mullins has a sore knee. Why? He wasn't playing. We'll be facing the Atlanta Hawks, who take down the Detroit Pistons. That would have been a fun matchup, but instead it will be Atlanta we take on in round 1. Now let's go ahead and look at our players in terms of how they did this year. So Sidney Lowry just didn't play enough games, only played 58 games, 23, 5, and 4. I don't know if that would have made it anyway, honestly. He does have a lot of steals, but Malachi made it off the back of his assists. Might lead the league, we'll check on that later. Francis Mullins, 16.5 and 11.5. How does that compare to previous years for him? I believe that's up, right? He's usually been around a 14 point per guy. Yep. So his points did increase, probably a result of Andre Stevens leaving, and his efficiency definitely up since the last time we checked in here. Davidson ends up scoring 14 points per game, his career high, and his efficiency shot up off the bench. So it's just clear, at least with this squad, he is a much better player off the bench than he is in the starting lineup. Is he going to like that? because if we sign him in the offseason, it's going to be to play that sixth man role. Is he going to be okay with that? That's going to be a big question that we'll have to answer. And it was one of the reasons I almost chose to trade him over Andre Stevens, but I just didn't like what our options were after him at the guard spots. Lamont Powers ups his points per game by about 1.5 almost. Ups his rebounds and assists as well. His shooting was the exact same, but he did increase his 3-point efficiency a bit here. Sexton didn't play for us, obviously. Ernest Augustine here as a starter upped his efficiency a bit, which you like to see, upped his volume a bit as well. And the team was very successful with him in the starting lineup. So when we start the playoffs, he's going to be the starting four to start it out. Bowman here in his rookie year, 7.4 points, 2.4 rebounds, and an assist. Shot 43% from deep. I mean, that is just a skill set that I think is going to play very well in the playoffs. 2.4 rebounds, though, playing power forward might be trouble. AC Stevens here. Again, kind of just what we saw earlier on when we checked back in last episode. Upped his efficiency again, which you like to see. He's been that 5 rebound a game guy ever since he went to the bench. And he's our backup center. There's not much else to say about it. Moses Moody, he had his least points per game since he's been a member of our team. As also, I believe, oh no, it's about pretty consistent. Ended up being with his minutes last year. But efficiency wise, still very close. Good 3-point shooter, shooting in the mid 40s from the field, which he kind of has been for the most. He was better than that the 2 previous years, but this is the Moody that we know, and this is the Moody that I particularly have enjoyed having on the team. So that is what we have for our stats for the year. Again, I just want to see the only guy that I think could have, I guess we have to go to league leaders here. Yeah. Let's do assists. So he ends up being second in the league behind Darius Garland in assists per game. So very good assist man, also pouring in 20 points per game. Very big bump from what we've seen his first 2 years and earns him All-NBA honors. Not to mention just volume, but efficiency as well. I honestly wish he would have taken more shots, because if you're shooting that well and you're playing almost 38 minutes a game, I feel like he has the potential for more. And that's partly being held back by the fact that he's our number 2 option, not our number 1. But you'll take those numbers from a number 2 option any day of the week. So let's get a look at what we're facing in the next episode against the Hawks. And another thing I want to talk to you guys about is, what do we do with the playoffs? Last time, the pace that we went with the playoff run, despite the fact that we had no series go beyond 5 games, it took what, like 14 episodes, somewhere around there, to get through the playoffs. I don't think we can stay at that same pace. So this is a team that I'm very surprised with here, if I'm being honest. I think round 1 we should be able to go through pretty quick. Now they do have a lot of depth, you got to give them that. They're going to be a team that's going to be playing probably mostly guys at 80 plus overall. They just don't really have anybody that you can look at and say, yeah, that's the team, that's the guy that's leading this team in the playoffs. But you know, that being said, still don't want to underestimate them. Here's Sebastian Rice, somebody I really liked coming out of the class. I wanted to draft him over Ernest Augustine. At this point, I'm very fine with what we have in Augustine, but there you have it. So we'll be facing off against the Hawks. What kind of pace should we go at? I'm honestly thinking I get through the series almost maybe doing close to a critical situations, except maybe going longer. Maybe if it's close going into the 4th, we'll watch the 4th. Basically until we get to an elimination game, and then once we get to elimination games, we give those their own episode. But I'm unsure as to how to go about the playoffs. I like kind of the formula that we've got going in the regular season. How do we translate to the playoffs is the question. If you have any ideas, I'd love to hear them. That's kind of my idea. Probably going through every game until we get to an elimination game next episode, and then we can eliminate the Hawks, or we just do the entire Hawks series in one episode. I don't know, but I don't really want these early series to go beyond 2 episodes, if I'm being honest. If it gets past that for like conference finals, or if there's a really good matchup in the second round, like for example, we're going against one of Cleveland or Indiana in the second round. That's going to be a really good matchup, I think. And so that's assuming that we make it, of course. So maybe that could be a series that we actually give a little bit more attention to. But I don't know. I'm still undecided as to the playoff format. I'd love to hear your ideas. But with that being said, that will wrap up what I've got here for this episode. Hope you enjoyed it. We will be back soon with the playoffs. And until then, sound up.